Hi everyone, it's Professor King. I apologize for the grainy video. It's the new laptop. I'm not really sure why it comes out so grainy like this. Hopefully I can figure it out. But not to worry because we're actually going to be working a lot on the share screen today, so you won't have to really look much at this anyway. Today what we're going to be talking about is the English 100 Annotated Bibliography and Final Research Essay. So I will pull the share screen up and I'll go over kind of what to work on, what to expect while you're preparing for these assignments. So I have the kind of the rundown of what we're doing today right here. So I will, I'll talk about this one by one. We'll start with what you need to have considered or read or looked at before you even dive into this video. Remember, my big thing is always work smarter, not harder. And so an aspect to that is to plan and strategize and make sure that you're not just diving in rudderless. I think I'm mixing metaphors there. You're not just diving in, right? You have a plan, you've kind of done the strategic steps before just diving in so that you don't get lost along the way. So before you watch this video on the final research essay and the annotated bibliography, make sure you've read the following. The notes on the annotated bibliographies that are on Canvas. There's a PowerPoint up on Canvas now for this week, so make sure you've looked through that. There's also a reading in the textbook, in the Norton textbook on annotated bibliographies, that corresponds to those notes. So make sure you've thoroughly read through those, particularly if you've never done an annotated bibliography before. Make sure you've read through the annotated bibliography assignment that's on Canvas, and it's posted this week, because that's going to explain what it is, why we do annotated bibliographies, what an annotated bibliography entry looks like, and there's even an example on the second page of the assignment, and what you need to do in terms of research. You'll also want to look at the final research essay, which is essay 4 on Canvas, again, posted on this week. Even though the annotated bibliography and the research essay are 2 separate assignments, you really are going to be working toward the same goal. So they're covering the same topic. They're both addressing the text Americana and some aspect of that text. The research that you share in the annotated bibliography will be the research that you apply to your essay. So it's not like you're doing 4 sources of research for the annotated bibliography and then an additional 6 to 8 for the essay. Those 4, right, will count toward those 6 to 8 outside sources for your essay. So, so what's the point, right? So I know that's what everyone's asking, and this is what the point is. We're in college. It's not enough to just read a text at face value anymore. It's not enough to just get the information that's right in front of you. You have to consider the context, right? You have to consider aspects of whatever text you're looking at. You have to know more about the author or the historical background or the other texts that are being alluded to or referenced or similar to the text you're looking at, because you need to expand your knowledge. You can't just have this sort of one-to-one relationship with a text anymore. You have to expand your knowledge. And research allows us to do that, okay? But we don't do quality research without fundamental skills. And so the final thing that you want to have read before you continue watching this video are the CRAP test notes and the CRAP test rubric, because those are going to talk about finding the best quality sources for your research. Again, in the same way that when you go on social media and you share an article or you share a piece of information, you want to make sure that that information is quality, because you have an audience on social media. And if your audience finds out that the information you're sharing isn't of the highest quality or is false or is outdated, they are going to then judge you as the person sharing that research, right? College, we're doing the same thing. It's just the stakes are higher. So read those 5 things, right? And I'll kind of highlight as we go to show you what we've finished talking about. Read those 5 things, right? The notes in the rubric are 2 different things. 6 if you count the textbook, right, that I didn't post on here, before you watch this video, because otherwise some of this video is not going to make sense. So let's start with the final essay prompt. And just to kind of backpedal a little bit, I'm sure I've brought this up either in the in-person class or online before, or in the class notes, right? I want you to think about when I told you when you're writing your essay to start with the body paragraphs and then work your way to your thesis, right? The reason is you don't know what you're going to say until you've said it, okay? We can kind of apply that same understanding to the annotated bibliography. You don't know what you're going to research unless you have the prompt for the final essay in front of you. Because again, that research is going to help you to answer whatever prompt you're responding to for the final essay. That's why, again, I say the annotated bibliography and the final essay are really kind of working in tandem to achieve the the reflection of quality college level research. So start with the final essay prompt. Go into Canvas, read it over, choose either a topic from the topic bank, right? Or choose a prompt that you're going to answer, which has a topic embedded in it, right? All prompts do. So choose a topic, choose which prompt you're answering. Then perform a little brainstorm, right? 5 minutes writing the entire time without stopping, whether it's clustering, listing, free writing, looping, all those different kinds we talked about when we talked about drafting and generating ideas. Do a brainstorm and think about what you know and what you don't know about your topic, because that's going to help guide your research. Also, consider how the topic or the item that you're going to talk about functions within the novel. And I'll show you an example, okay? I've already asked you, or I've suggested to you, to create a notes and quotes page, to share some strong lines when we go over discussion boards. Here is why, one of the reasons why. Those notes and quotes, those annotations, those highlights, those strong lines, you're going to look through those, and if you've read a significant amount of the novel, what you're going to start to notice is a pattern of, wow, I keep being drawn to this concept of love and relationships, or I keep being drawn to sex, or I keep being drawn to hair and how that functions in the novel, or I keep being drawn to race and immigration, right? Whatever your pattern that you're noticing is a great place to start for an essay prompt topic, okay? So let's say, and I'm just going to minimize this really quickly. Let's say you go to our class website, right? And I'm going to work backward a little bit. You go to our class website, English 100. Doesn't matter if you're in CRN 22167 or something else. You know, it's pretty standard. You look over the prompt for essay 4. There she is. There she blows, right? Essay 4. Are you going to open up for me? Maybe. Let's see. So you see the prompt. I'm going to take it out of web view and back to print layout, right? You see the prompt. And the first prompt asks you essentially to think of a concept, think of an item, think of how you want to approach this text, right? Whether it's post-colonial theory or gender theory or sex and sexuality or toxic masculinity, right? Whatever that pattern that you're noticing, there's probably a topic here. And if there's not, run it by me. Odds are I'll think it's cool. Or if you're a little stuck, talk to me. We can figure something out, right? So let's say you read through and you choose, you have all these prompts to choose from: comparisons, self-recovery, the dark place. So some of these reference texts that we've read throughout the semester in this class, it all leads up to something. Or a wildcard prompt where you want to talk about your own thing, right? So let's just say you go to prompt 1 and you want to talk about the role that hair plays, right? Significance of items, number 7, such as hair, communications, technology, etc., right? Let's say you keep going back to these scenes in the hair salons, or when Ifemilu talks about her hair, or when she alters her hairstyle, or braids or something like that, right? And you go, I'm a cosmetology major, and I think approaching this from the perspective of hair would be really cool. Maybe I just keep noticing the stuff about the hair because I'm really into beauty or whatever, and I want to see how that goes. Whatever, right? So let's say you do that. Let's say your topic is hair, right? Then you go to your book, your copy of Americana. I'll just pull mine up on Kindle. I've opened it up to a page that has a quote that talks about hair, right? It talks about his golden hair, right? It talks about Kurt's golden hair, right? And it talks about how Ifemilu looks, right? Not just her hair, but her skin, right? Her blackness, all of those things. If we go back, right, we see this this kind of interaction in the salon with Ifemilu and Kurt. And, I'm not gonna make anyone read the whole thing, but it's particularly about her eyebrow hair, right? And they have this salon interaction where Ifemilu is essentially sort of dismissed, and Kurt pulls the the old "can I speak to the manager" move, right? And then that kind of creates this change in how Ifemilu perceives Kurt, how she perceives their relationship, and all those sorts of things, right? So let's say I took this scene, and at the end, right, again, that change when they're at the party after this has happened, right? She says, Kurt held on to her hand, kissed her often, introduced her to everyone. The looks had begun to pierce her. She was even tired of Kurt's protection, even of needing protection, right? And they're still talking about looks, right? He talks about like a bad spray tan and stuff. So, thinking about this scene, right? If I decided to do hair, I could talk about, the culture of a salon. I could talk about black hair. I could talk about Kurt's hair and how that compares and contrasts to Ifemilu's hair and what that means, right? I could talk about how, this seemingly benign incident in a hair or in a beauty salon changes Ifemilu's perspective of Kurt, right, into these larger issues of protection, right, because he does the sort of speak to the manager thing and all those sorts of things, right? So let's say I take that, I take my brainstorm, I take the prompt I'm going to answer, and I have other notes and quotes, right? I have other strong lines that I'm going to use because that's what the final essay asks me to do. So I have all this, right? Now I have to start doing the research. Okay, so this is where we go back to the class website, right? To the class page. And as you saw when I went to the class page, I was on the Fullerton College Library site. Because if you look, and yours is gonna look a little bit different because you're a student and I'm an instructor, but if you look, right, there's a link to the Fullerton College Library in your toolbar. So you click on that and you can stay on Canvas and it'll take you right to the Fullerton College Library. And you go to the famous white box here because, you know, if we're doing this during the time of the quarantine, we can't really access print books. We can still access ebooks though, and we can access scholarly journals, news articles, historical sources, biographical information, et cetera, et cetera. So I know some of you might be concerned saying, how am I going to find all different types of sources if I can't get print books? Well, there are many other types of sources that you could use, you know, beyond just print books. And again, it's not that each of the 4 annotated bibliography sources has to be a different source. It's that there has to be at least some variety in your annotated bibliography. So let's say, right, you want to know more about black hair, right? I would say maybe don't start with the catalog because again, that's going to give a lot of print books that if you're watching this under quarantine, we can't access, right? We can't necessarily go to the library. So I would say go to databases. Start with Academic Search Complete and I'll just go to the library. See, I thought this through. Go to databases, go to Academic Search Complete, and type in your info, right? And then start putting in your key terms. Couple things. Students always do this. They'll say black hair, okay? And then it pulls up 534 sources. And they look through, maybe they look through the first page or something and they go, oh, you know, none of this answers what I want to talk about, right? Then they go to me and they go, I couldn't find anything. And my first response is always, how many different keywords, how many different search items did you use? I put in black hair. You gotta think outside the box. You know, if black hair doesn't work, we can do things like African American, beauty standards, Eurocentric beauty standards, whiteness, right? Like, so thinking about related terms. That's why the brainstorm is so helpful to start off with in order to do this. So let's say you do find something like, oh, crud, Twisted, the Tangled History of Black Hair Culture, right? And we look, right, Monica Howe, Library Journal, it's a scholarly journal, so it's probably gonna pass the crap test, but let's just make sure. I click on the PDF of the full text so I can read the whole thing because I have to summarize it for my annotated bibliography. It pulls up. This, right, is just a review of the book. So not a great source, right? We would want to find the book itself. So again, it's a little trial and error. It's a little playing with this. But one other thing we can do, sorry to keep scrolling up and down, I'm just kind of this old hat to me. Let's say The Tangled History of Black Hair Culture by Emma DeBerry. It's a book. Let me see if I go back to the Fullerton College Library. And let me just pull up a new window of the library because that'll. Okay. Let's say I go to the catalog and I put in that last name, DeBerry. See if anything comes up. No. All right, so again, it's a little trial and error, right? It's a little you know, sometimes you find stuff, sometimes you don't. But that's why I'm giving you these assignments now, while you're still reading, because you want to be kind of researching in tandem with your reading. You want to give yourself as much time as possible to do the research, because research takes time. Sometimes you go down paths and they lead you to great stuff. Sometimes you go down paths and it's a dead end, you know? So now we only have 2 sources. That's okay, right? Because again, we're gonna use different key terms. We're gonna use different types of sources. We're gonna take our time doing research. So this is not the only place we're gonna go, right? Bias, employment discrimination, and Black women's hair, another way forward. Perhaps, right? Oh, look at this, where apartheid still thrives, at the hair salon, right? Apartheid is something we've been talking about in this class. So that brings us to a whole nother discussion, which is, perhaps there's some connection between the way that Black women are treated vis-a-vis their hair, right? And these ideas and concepts that we've learned when we studied post-colonial theory, right? So that might be something you want to go down. So that is, you know, that's in a nutshell kind of how you start going snowballing into your research, let's say. You're going to do much more than that, right? You're not just going to go once and find everything. It's not a one-stop shop kind of a thing. It takes time, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes diligence, grit, all these things that you need, right, in college. So let me go back to, okay, so we looked at the final essay prompt. We looked at our notes and quotes, right? We did research, right? Sources related to your topic. That's the one we did. You can also just put in Americana, right? Or Americana hair, right? Or Americana post-colonialism, post-colonial theory. Play with those keywords. So when you research, you don't just want to look for sources related to your topic. You want to look for sources related to the novel. And if you can find sources that relate to both, great. But know that all of your sources don't necessarily have to, especially if they're doing things like providing historical context, providing theoretical context, right? Because your job as the researcher is to synthesize those sources into your essay, right? How do they fit all together in this discussion you're sharing about hair? And you may go, oh my gosh, that's so terrifying. No, it's the fun part. It's like making a cake, right? If I tell you to make a cake, you're gonna go, yeah. Hopefully most of you are like a big sugar fiend like me, but you're gonna go, yeah, right? You're gonna go butter, sugar, flour, cocoa, oil, eggs, right? Those are all different ingredients. If I told you to make a cake and you brought 6 pads of butter, that you wouldn't be able to make a cake. Research is the same thing. If you give me all the same kind of research, or research from all the same place, or research that all talks about exactly the same thing, it doesn't really do much in terms of your research recipe, right? It doesn't make something new, right? A pat of butter is not a cake. One source or the same type of source is not going to be a worthwhile essay. So you want to get a variety of different kinds of sources, perspectives, approaches, topics, some that speak directly to the novel, some that don't, right? That's good stuff. That's not bad stuff. And look for a variety of sources: data and statistics, historical, biographical, theoretical, intertextual. Look back over those notes on types of research, and it's going to explain what those are and how you find them. Scholarly journal articles, articles from reputable news sources, other texts, right? If you want to do intertextual research, whatever works for the type of research that you're doing, okay? What doesn't work? Google, Wikipedia, magazines, information that is shared to earn money, okay? You don't want to use those types of sources. You want to use sources that are of the highest academic quality. So keep that in mind. So that's research, you know, at lightning speed. So let's talk annotated bibliography very briefly. It's 4 sources. And again, those 4 sources, 4 outside sources you use in your annotated bibliography are going to be part of the 6 to 8 that you use for your final essay, okay? The only exception is if you do all the annotated bibliography work and at the very last minute you go, you know what, I'm going to answer a different prompt. But most of you, I'm assuming, are probably not going to do that. So these 4 in the annotated bibliography will transfer over into the final essay, because again, you're working toward that final topic, that final research topic. Use the 4 best sources that you have in your research working toward the final essay so far. Don't give me the first 4. Don't give me 6 to 8, because I'll read the first 4 and then be done with it. In your annotated bibliography, give me the 4 best you have so far that you're thinking of putting in your final essay. Then for each entry, cite according to MLA standards. If you have the Red Norton book, that starts on page 502, if of the textbook, or you can go to the Purdue Online Writing Lab, Purdue OWL on the internet. I've shown you how to look over that before. You're going to want to summarize the research source, right? Just like we've been doing all semester with T4s, summarize, analyze, right? But in this case, you do the research, you read the whole source, then you talk about why it's helpful, why it might not be helpful, what it addresses, what it doesn't address, how you're going to use it in your essay, how it responds to other sources that you're doing research on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all you got to do 4 times, right? For 4 different sources. And again, the Norton textbook, any of the class readings, and Americana do not count as your 4 sources, okay? If you have any follow-up questions to this video, email me, message me, come to the class Zoom meetings, come to Zoom office hours. Sorry, there's a fly in front of me. Because this is going to help you become better researchers for college, and that's one of the requirements of this course. So there you go. All right, well, just to kind of look over what we did today, I'll leave this here for a moment as I say goodbye to you. Good luck, and again, let me know if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.